Good morning. I am here with the lovely Danielle Lavallee Wasson. So, Danielle is an accomplished entrepreneur and coach who is dedicated to helping people unlock their full potential. Before finding her path to success, Danielle was once a complainer and a procrastinator living in Blamesville, where she constantly found herself and her team making excuses instead of taking action. But how things have changed. Danielle has transformed from a self-doubter to a trailblazer, and it's remarkable. She has two major careers, each one showcasing her talent of turning obstacles into stepping stones. In her role as an international sales director, Danielle delivered game-changing sales training to thousands of retailers on 4 continents, resulting in an additional 18 million in sales. She then took the helm of an insurance team and increased revenue by 15 to 18% yearly. She knows how to lead and inspire others with greatness. What sets Danielle apart is her ability to inspire a grounded and self-confident sense of, wow, I can do this, in small business owners, leaders, and dreamers. She understands the struggles of overwhelm, self-doubt, and shiny object syndrome all too well, and she has cracked the code to overcome them. By shifting away from the chaos of busyness and embracing a step-by-step action by action plan, Danielle has proven that confident and exceptional results are within reach for anyone willing to put in the work. Danielle will be speaking to us about cracking the code to success, leaving Blamesville behind with a flair. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you so much. That was quite the intro. It made me laugh.
Awesome. Well, excited to have you here. Okay.
Very happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Okay, so let's go to our first question. Your message is for leaders to lead with flair. What does that mean?
Yeah, so Flair came about after a couple of years of basically failing to reach my goals. I came this close from losing my job and thought, I've got to do something different. This is just not working. So I came up with the acronym of Flair, which stands for focus, listen, hold each other accountable, inspire with integrity and responsibility. And let me go through those in a little bit greater detail and how any leader at any level and any type of team, whether you're selling services or goods or even nonprofits, can apply this in their lives. So the F stands for focus. So when we are not focused as leaders, we tend to confuse our teams. And if the team is confused, we don't reach our goals. There actually are statistics out there that say that 79% of teams never reach their goals. That is a staggering number. So it doesn't mean they're not growing, but they set all these goals and then they don't reach them. Sometimes there's just too many goals or they're the wrong goals for the wrong people. So the focus really comes in on focusing on the right things at the right time with the right people. And as a leader, if you can get everybody on the same page and hyper focused on what you're supposed to do, you just naturally reach your goals. And I'll go deeper as we go along today on how to set those goals and what does that mean and how to set forth an action plan. The L stands for listen and learn. We always say, there's this expression, you have two ears, one mouth, but try this one. Listen to the people around you with the intent to learn. There's a big difference there. When we listen with the intent to learn from the other person, learn about their struggles, maybe learn something new for somebody on your team that might have a little nugget that could help the entire team be more productive, or a new product idea they might have. It doesn't matter what it is, but when we're leaders, it's so easy to want to talk I catch myself sometimes talking too much in meetings, and it's so important to let your team speak so you can learn from them and they can learn from each other. And that delivers a really secondary bonus, I'll call it, is that when you listen to somebody with the intent to learn, they really feel heard and they feel important. Because if you're looking at someone and you're not trying to interrupt, you're not checking your phone, you're not, doing a bunch of things that are distracting, they feel so important and so heard. And when a person feels heard and important, it validates them in a team and corporate setting. That's a little bit lost in a lot of teams and so important to put back into your life. Imagine just your life with your children. If the TV's going, you're checking your phone, you're answering the phone, and your child is trying to tell you something that happened at school, whatever it is, and we don't take the time to hear them and listen to them with the intent to learn what happened. It changes their lives. It changes everybody's lives. So the L is for listen with the intent to learn. The A is to act and accountability. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Once we set the goals as a team and we set a plan and we put that plan in motion, we have to take action. You can do all the planning you want in the world. If you don't start to take action, nothing's going to happen. Just think of how many diets get set and, fitness exercise programs that get purchased in January. And here we are, January, whatever it is, 29. And how many of you have actually done your fitness plan, 4 days a week, whatever it was, or done that diet? Same thing with new goals for corporations. You set the goal, you set the plan in place. Is your team taking action? And are they taking the correct actions? Well, I'll give you a tip later on here in our talk today on how to set that action plan and how to break it down into tiny little pieces so that every single day the team is moving towards the goal. And then once you have that in place, then you can hold everybody accountable. It's impossible to hold people accountable if we don't know where we're headed. So the A stands for taking action, but then holding the entire team and yourself as a leader accountable for what you say, do, and your attitude, because those are the things that we control, right? So accountability is massive. The next one is inspire with integrity. I think my number one advice to women leaders specifically, and to young leaders, is be yourself. Humans have a very high level of intuition to protect ourselves. It's ingrained since, day one. It's in our brain to protect ourselves, and we can spot a fake person a mile away. And if you, as a leader, especially a new leader or certain female leaders that come in and you're trying to emulate the men, or you're trying to be tougher because leaders should be tough, but you're not that person. If you're a kind, warm-hearted person, people around you and your team are going to recognize that you're forcing, right? You're not being yourself. You're trying to be something else. And when that happens, you're not living in integrity. You're not living your values. And it'll kill you. Like, it just destroys yourself, because you're always fake. You're one way at home, you're another way at work, maybe you're another way during the meetings. So my number one advice is lead with integrity. And that integrity is really being who you are, living your values every single day. Another way to look at integrity is what I call doing the right thing when everybody's watching, right? In a group setting, if there's one particular person in the group in a meeting that's always kind of bullies the others by making snide comments or talking over the others, it's your job as a leader to take that person aside and like put a stop to it, right? Maybe not in public. I don't believe in berating people in public unless it's super flagrant. But making sure that you recognize that that's happening. And then doing the right thing when nobody's watching. So, for all you folks at home working from home, if, are you really working from home, right? Are you spending 80% of your time doing chores and watching Netflix while you work, and you're kind of like being a quiet quitter and not really doing your job fully? So living in integrity inspires others to do the same and to be themselves. And finally, the R is to take 100% responsibility. So this I learned from Jack Canfield, who also the writer of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm a Canfield success principles trainer. And, I say, take 100% responsibility. Now, you're going to work and you get somebody, hits you with their car and hopefully nobody's hurt and it's just a ding on the bumper or something. How do you take responsibility for that? Well, you can't take responsibility for what happens to you from the outside, but we can take responsibility for three things, as those are the only three things we control. One, take responsibility for your attitude. So I had a little fender bender. I can let it ruin my whole week. Or I can say, okay, thank God, nobody was hurt. It's just a fender bender. It can get fixed. I have insurance. Move on. Like, don't take it out on other people. You control your attitude. You control what you do. So if you say you were going to get a report done, get it done. Like you're responsible for that. And you also control what you say. And that's very important. How you say things, how we address people. We control that. We don't control the others. We don't control what they say. We don't control what they think. We don't control a lot of the things that happen to us, but we control our attitude, what we do, and then what we say. So take responsibility for that. I think you're muted.
I love that. You have a lot of detail in there for that acronym. So that was fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so it sounds quite simple, but how do we actually put this into practice?
So the first thing is to set your goals. So how do we put that in practice? Is we have to start at the beginning. In order to set our goals as leaders, I think our own goals have to be straight. We have to determine what our values are. And I've coached so many people that struggle with that. It's like, well, I don't know how to set my values. We kind of know what our values are, but if we're not 100% clear, um, it derails us. And so you start by setting your values. And there's a website that's absolutely wonderful. I'll share it with you. And you can maybe put it in the chat, but it's personal values is the website, but it's personalvalue.es. It's 100% free. And it's a very good free online test. Your whole team can do it. You can I did it with my team. We actually did it as a team and, gave our team a personality or an avatar, just to see what we wanted our team values to be. So it's a super easy test. You literally just go through and select some of the values that are here, and then it'll start comparing them, right? Like, so if you could have accountability but not be challenged in your life, which one would you choose? And then it'll do this for all of the ones that you chose, and it'll boil it down to 5. And they actually even email you a little screensaver you can put on your phone that has your top 5 values. It's a really great exercise. They have examples and definitions of the words that they have. This young man who developed this website is ever so generous, allows all coaches to use this for free. So I really encourage you to go there, personalvalue.es for values. So start there. If your values are not straight, how in heck are you going to be able to figure out what your own personal goals is? So I'm kind of like clean up your life first, and decide what you want. I have very clear goals for my team, right? My number one goal for my team is to make sure that every single one of my team members reaches their financial goals at the end of the year. And then I have secondary goals for them. And those are, they understand what those are and they're really well defined. So then set your team goals and make sure those goals are clear and realistic. I'll often have, clients that'll say, hey, I want to triple my numbers this year. Okay, great. Great goal. Is it realistic? Do you have the infrastructure in place? Do you have the team in place to be able to do that? Do you even have, a website or a way to contact your customers? So you have to start by knowing what your values are, setting your own personal goals in your career and for your team. And then on your team goals, be very specific, right? We want to increase our sales by 16% by this date. And it's very, very specific. And I kind of like to I put a little twist on goal setting, and I call it the W4. So if you make a chart and you just take a piece of paper and you just put 4 W's. So what are you going to reach? By when? With who? And then why? So we will reach 16% increase in sales by December 31st with our team, and we name the team members. And then why do we want to do that? So, we want to reach 16% sales because we want to serve our customers and provide the best possible service that we can, or we want to change the world. So why are you as a team reaching those goals? Sometimes the why is tiny. It doesn't always have to be world changing. But if you have that little why, it reminds everyone on the team of why we're pursuing this goal. And once in a while, you'll find that you can't find a why, and maybe that's not the right goal to pursue. Increasing sales is not always the right goal to pursue. Maybe it's customer retention, especially if we go into a recession or we go into tougher times, depending on your industry. Maybe customer retention is more important right now than increasing the sales so that you can maintain sales and maintain your best customers. So really get with your team. Don't try to set goals as a leader way up here without team input, because they might have some ideas or a goal that could change the course of the company. So be very, very clear on those goals. You can even just do a brain dump and say, okay, what are all the goals we'd like to reach? Then each person can spin off from that. Or if you have sub teams, they can spin off and set their goals. So it starts with create your values, set your goals. And if you're not sure which goal to set, I'll give you a tip. Make a list of all your goals. So I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to buy a Ferrari. We want to increase sales by 16%, whatever it is. Make a huge list of all your goals, everything you can possibly think of that you'd like to accomplish. And then work them off of each other, just like the values exercise. If I cannot lose weight, but I can decrease my blood pressure, which one would I choose? If I can't finish my high school degree, but I can, take care of my children, which one might I choose? And it doesn't mean you won't do the other one later. It's which one do we choose now? What can you do in the next 3 months right now? That's more important to you. Because if you have that passion, that why, right? We're getting back to the W4, you're more apt to continue to do it. Right? If getting in shape is more important than actually losing the weight so that you can play with your grandkids, maybe that's more important to you. So get to that why. Same thing with your team, right? We want to, increase our customer retention, or a good goal for if you have customers is increase how much each customer is spending versus like looking at the total number at the end of the year. So you could set a goal of we want to increase each customer's purchases by 10% within the next 3 months. It's a great goal. And that gives you something very specific to do. You can set, one team works on some marketing, another team works on calling all of your best customers to see how more you can serve them. It gives you something very specific to pursue. After that, we have to start with a plan. So how do we plan? Randy, how does that sound so far? Is that clear?
Yeah, very clear. Very clear.
Good.
Do you want, okay. Okay. So how do we have our values and goals? What's next? I know you're talking about planning, but share with us a little bit about that.
Sure. So let's take one type of goal and let's break it down. So the way that I like to break down goals is kind of fun. So when we set a goal, let's say increase sales by 10%. I'm just going to use that because it's a nice round number. So let me show you a little brain dump exercise that works really well, because oftentimes we have a goal and it's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? So create a little mind map. Just I do it on my iPad. You can do it on a piece of paper. It really, really doesn't matter where you do it. So as long as you're actually writing it out with your, pen to paper. So start by just making a circle with the date and where you are. And then clear your mind so that you can then focus on creating your plans. Because if we have a bunch of crap in our head, tax time is coming, so I'm sure that's on the mind of a lot of people. Start by and then just make circles and arrows off of that, and every single thought that comes to mind. I have to go to the groceries and get milk. You put that up here and write it out. I need to make sales calls. Okay, what am I going to do to make the sales calls? Oh, I need to prioritize. Then after I do that, what is it going to be? Anything and everything that pops into your head, buy a present for Mary Jo for her birthday, whatever it is. Dump, 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 so that you can clear your mind completely. This should not take more than 5 to 7 minutes. And then once you have it there, this is where the magic happens. Now you're going to start to organize. So sorry guys, you'll clear your mind, and then you'll take these thoughts, and one of these obviously should be the goal that we're pursuing, right? Increase our sales 10%. Then we'll look at that and we'll say, okay, what's first? And you have to organize. So in order to make a plan, you have to figure out what's all there available to you, then organize. Once your thoughts are organized, it's really, really easy to then structure out your next 3 months or your next week or your next day. I actually do this exercise twice a week. I do it on Sunday nights, and then I do it again on Wednesdays mornings. And that sets my tone of everything I need to do for the next couple of days. But you can do it initially for a goal and just keep doing this exercise until you organize in steps. So you can do it 3 by 3, 5 by 5, 6 by 6. When I have a big giant one for like our yearly goals, for example, I do a 6 by 6 chart. And then I'll just literally take which one of these is the top priority right now. And that goes in box number 1. What do I do next? Goes in box number 2, box number 3, 4, 5, 6, et cetera, et cetera. And you just keep charting it out. If you redo this exercise and you just brain dump your goal, so your center here would be increase sales 10%. What are all the pieces that you can think of? And you can do this. I would recommend you do this with your team. We need to increase sales 10%. Okay, let's everybody drain dump. Who has ideas? What can we do? Right. And you just go fast. There's no justifying. Don't justify why you're writing something. If somebody has a crazy idea, right, put it down on paper, because the craziest ideas are the best. Right. Think of Steve Jobs, who wanted to put 10,000 records in his pocket. He made it happen. They all thought he was crazy. So any idea is a good idea. So you're brain dumping, then you can organize it. Okay, great. What could we do first? What should we do next? And then once that is done, you assign people to those, and then maybe they do a brain dump for their little section of it. But if you can't organize your thoughts, it's really hard to make a plan. Once your thoughts are organized in order of priority, then you can make your plan and detail it out. And you have to have a plan to do the A. Without that, you can't hold people accountable. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's okay. It happens to me all the time.
Okay, so when we get to accountability as a leader, what has been the hardest part for you?
Um, I think the hardest part is like I'm just a really easygoing person. Um, and I just like to be nice to people. Maybe that's the Canadian in me that comes out, right? Um, so the hardest part in the beginning was not having those goals defined and the actions. So in your action plan, once you do that brain dump and you prioritize, then say, okay, what do we need to do every day that will almost guarantee that that goal is going to be met? Because if I give you a goal, Randy, today to say, hey, Randy, you should do like, you know, 50 of these live um things per year. I'll talk to you in December. Good luck. Hopefully you make it. Right. And that's how a lot of goals are set with leaders, and see you in a year. But if you want to move things along and have, I'm going to talk about meetings right now, but have meetings that actually yield results instead of just meetings that last forever and nothing got accomplished other than complaining, is really having those. What are you going to do, Randy, to do those? So, right, in sales, how many phone calls are you going to make per day? And if you say I'm going to make 2 phone calls a day, okay, great. When we have our meeting every week, our team meeting, okay, Randy, did you make those 2 phone calls a day last week? Did you make those 10 phone calls? It's a yes or no answer, right? Did you send, George, did you send the 25 emails you said you would send to prospects? It's a yes or no answer. So it's the more detailed you can get on the actual actions that need to be done daily actions to move towards the goal. That's where accountability can really, really work, because you're having meetings, even if they're just one-on-ones. In team meetings, I like it even better, because you don't want to be the person that shows up for 3 weeks in a row that you didn't make those 2 phone calls a day. Right. So it pulls everybody up. And it also allows other people to say, hey, do you need help with that? Why are you struggling making your phone calls? Maybe you need a script. We could help build the script, or we can do, role playing, which is the thing I hate the most in the world, but whatever it is. So I struggled with that for a long time, because I was just looking at the end goal instead of the process. And the process is what you can improve. You can improve a process if it's not working and you're not seeing that you're inching towards that goal. If you just set the goal and you pray to God that you're going to get there, you probably won't get there, and you'll be in that 79%. But if you focus on the process and the daily activities, and the whole team holds each other accountable, you've got pretty high probability of reaching that goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important that not only the accountability, but also to see what the results is, because maybe what they're doing, that process isn't working, and they can be discussing changes, tweaks, or whatnot. Like it could
Yeah.
be a tiny little thing that they
Yeah.
need to do in order to get the results that they're looking for, right?
Yeah. I'll give you a perfect example for that. I mean, like, it's on myself. About 10 years ago, I was selling hot tubs, and I was trying to develop a new territory, and I swear to God, I went to see this gentleman who had a store like 6 times. And on the 6th time, I was just not, I'm usually always in a good mood, but for that day, I had had traffic. It was hot. I was just not in a good mood. And I walked in, and he's like, oh, hey, Danielle, how's it going? I'm like, oh, I'm great. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then I said, hi, we came out with a new color. It's fabulous. He's like, oh, that sounds really interesting. And at the end of the meeting, I'm like, you know what? I said, this is going to be my last visit. Like, this is a waste of time. You're clearly not interested. Wishing you the best. And he looked at me and he said, okay, young lady, he was an older gentleman. He said, you've been here 6 times. Never once did you ask me if I wanted to be one of your dealers. Never once. Right. So I was just doing the motions, right? I was just making the visits, but never asking for the sale. So, point just what you just said. Maybe it's a tweak. Maybe it's something that you're not doing. You've got the right process, but it needs to be improved. And that's why if we focus on the process and then the results, did you make those 10 calls? Of those, how many have come on board, or how many have committed to that, maybe then a demo or the next step or getting an estimate, whatever it is, then you can work on those numbers and improve them, right? So yeah, make your plans, work the plan by daily actions, hold each other accountable, and then improve it as you go so that you become better and better and better at it.
So let me throw this one at you, because this conversation is really all about teams. So let's talk about people who might work on their own or only work with one other person. So I'm really picking on myself, to be honest. But what if, okay, you're totally accountable to yourself and doing, but you're not tracking, right? So you might make 20 calls in the day, but you don't have any idea how many calls you made in the day until you go to your phone and check, oh, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and start counting the calls, right? So what do you say to somebody who might be totally driven, totally accountable, but not tracking at all?
So you have to track. If you have a small business and you're what I call a solopreneur or a quasi solopreneur, right? There are some tools that you can use that are, free or almost free. And I'll throw out a couple out there to you. Obviously one thing is you can get a coach. A coach can really, a coach transformed my life, Michael Bailey, best coach ever. You can transform your life with a coach, especially a business coach who can get you off your butt doing things that you need to be doing and hold you accountable. It's really easy to cheat if you're just holding yourself accountable. It's too easy. I think you need to have an accountability partner. Maybe that's your spouse or one of your children. But having that accountability partner, I think, is really important. If you can't have that, there's all kinds of apps. There's an app called 90.io, and it's spelled out 90.io. I use it. It's fabulous because in 90, it's $6 a month. I mean, so you can set your goals, your quarterly goals, your yearly goals, and then your daily actions. And you can even put your customers in there and you can kind of track what you're doing, as well as your financials. You can use something as simple as Trello and just build a nice Trello board. I've done that for customers in the past, and they just drag their, if you have a Trello board that has, and you can do the same thing in an Excel spreadsheet. If you think of your columns as all your steps, right? Prospect with a customer, they become a lead, then you send them, let's say, a proposal, then you follow up on the proposal, then they either buy or you continue following up, and you can move that person from column to column to see where they're at. It's really quick to see if your columns are not moving because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. There's more expensive tools like Monday or things like that, but keep it simple, right? But then you have to do it and data enter it. Anything that you data enter, it's like garbage in, garbage out. So I would recommend you find a tool that works for you that you're going to use. So whether it's 90.io or even like a CRM, we build CRMs for our customers. So you can track everything they do. So we can do that. You can do that as well, where you have a CRM and you have your goals laid out in a system where you can email out of that CRM. You can track what your customers are buying and not buying and which step they're at. But you have to hold yourself accountable. And I would venture to say that 99% of the people are going to be really bad at holding themselves accountable because it's too easy to have excuses and not do it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Okay, so before I rudely interrupted you and threw my question in there.
No, it's a great question. It was a great question.
So, when you're explaining about the plans and the goals and the values and all of that wonderful information, is there any more to it than that?
It's actually pretty simple. Set your values so that you're being true to yourself, as whether you're self-employed, as a mother, as a church leader. It doesn't matter what you do in your life. Set your values and be true to your values. Redo your values exercise once a year because life changes, and as we get older, those might shift, right? And live those values. Make sure you live in that integrity. Then set your goals, clear your mind so you're pursuing the right goals that are meaningful to you, that will improve your life and that of others. Then make your plan and then break down that plan into daily to-dos. Your daily to-dos. Think about losing weight. If you just took a walk every single day or 5 days a week, right? Your daily to-dos, not eat white stuff like sugar and flour, let's say, and take a walk. Chances are you're going to start losing weight because you're going to have a compound effect. Same thing goes in sales or business. You have that compounding effect that starts to happen. So make those activity lists, and do that little exercise I showed you, brain dump, and then chart out your next 2-3 days of activities. You'll see how much more you get done because that's super simple to do. And then keep yourself accountable and track your results. It's as simple as that. It's not more complicated than that. And if you do that with your teams, your meetings will be more meaningful. You're not going to waste time, and you're actually going to do work that has results instead of just doing busy work. So easy to make a list of prospects, but if I never call them or move them to the next level, right, then I'm just getting busy. I'm doing nothing that's going to have results. And hold each other, hold yourself 100% responsible for what you do, what you say, and your own attitude. Because having a crappy attitude saying, oh, I'll never succeed, all of that's too hard. What do you think is going to happen? You won't get there.
Yeah.
Have that positive attitude, that can do, because you can. People have accomplished feats are all around us all the time that are so amazing. They're not smarter than us. Well, maybe a few of them are, but they have that can do, but they do it. They have that passion and they pursue it, and they don't stop until they reach it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all this great information. Do you want people to reach out to you?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me to Danielle at 5stepcoaching.com, and that's with the number 5, numeral 5. So Danielle at 5stepcoaching.com. I'd be happy to help.
That's awesome. And I know you can. You've got a lot of knowledge there. I know you've helped a lot of organizations, so that's fantastic. And thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing this great information. I hope people reach out to you and, get some actual direct help from you.
Thank you so much.